Thanks for joining me today, Esra. She's from Medicine Within YouTube channel, and thanks so much for being here. You're welcome to say a couple of words about yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Judith. I honestly, I always enjoy our conversations right before we got started. We're just talking about how our conversations just flow and we lose track of time. So I'm always happy to be here. My name is Esra. I go by Medicine Within. So that's Medisun Within. On Instagram predominantly, but I do think I'm going to start posting on my YouTube channel sometime soon. I am really interested in a lot of different concepts, particularly psychology and trauma nowadays. It's been kind of on the forefront. More esoteric teachings also about bodily function and health and restoring our primal health. That's also been something that I've been interested in. And I took to social media to share about everything that I learned. And if anyone's interested, they can check out my Instagram there to see what I share about. And that's how Judith and I also crossed paths. And we're here now. And we're having an amazing conversation today that I'm totally looking forward to.
Yes, and our topic is such an exciting topic, escaping the matrix, escaping the matrix. And maybe you can elaborate about this, topic that came to you as well, that we can talk more about. And we're gonna talk about how different perspectives we have in our nature of reality, and also how to get to the level of enlightenment and uncovering these topics and how to practice them, and also how we're going to cultivate inner peace, and also talk about the levels of the soul and the nature of reality.
Yes.
Take it away, Esra.
Wow, such amazing topics, I think, to talk about. I think when we say escaping the matrix, that's such like a commonly used phrase nowadays, is it? And there's also a movie, obviously, called The Matrix, and it kind of depicts Neo's progress through his escaping of it. I do feel that maybe the way I used to see it, at least, is very different to the way I see it now. I don't see it so much as a physical escape of the matrix. Like maybe there could be associations of leaving the corporate world and this hustle, bustle, 9 to 5 and rat race kind of environment, and then moving into like your own off-grid, your own piece of land, and becoming fully sovereign in that sense. And I guess that in a sense of the word, that is escaping the matrix in a way. But now I kind of see it as disentangling from the matrix, because I almost feel like there is no escape. As long as we're alive, we can't really escape the matrix. It's kind of this program that we're in, this reality that we're in. But what we can do is learn to bend this reality to our will in the ways that we desire. And when we truly connect to our authenticity, when we truly connect to our inner being, our true state of being, I feel, which is really, when you really connect to your authenticity, you find that that is an unconditional state. You're not determined by the outside external forces. You're not determined by the thoughts that you're having or the emotions that you're feeling. You're unconditional to all of it, and you're not reactive to any of the external or internal kind of like turbulent winds of whatever is going on. So that's what I feel is this entangling from the matrix. Is you're not really reactive to everything that's going on. You're at peace and at your center of being, regardless of whatever's going on. And I feel, while that might sound quite simple, it comes with a lot of self-reflection, introspection, understanding your shadow aspects, understanding your trauma, and it takes a lot of awareness of who you truly are behind all of that, behind all of the thoughts and the emotions and the external circumstances that might be going on outside of you. So I think there's, for me personally, I've been coming to a realization that that phrase for me needs to be redefined, because I'm like, what is escaping the matrix? Like, I guess you can kind of put a picture to that phrase, like, you know, with the whole off-grid and escaping the rat race or whatever. But I guess that's escaping one matrix, but you're still in another matrix. Like, you're still always in a matrix. You're still always in this program. You're still experiencing reality. It's almost like an immersive experience of a movie, you know. There is no physical escape of the matrix. We're always in it, but you can change your relationship to the matrix at any point. So that's what I've come to realize. So I thought that that would be a really interesting topic to talk about, because it's quite popular and trendy right now, I feel, with escaping the matrix. And feel free to share if you have like your own personal experiences with that, and maybe if that phrase has changed meaning for you as well.
Yes, everybody could comment below if they have any experience how they created their life or created a better reality for themselves. Because like you said, we cannot escape the matrix. We are part of this physical reality. We're living in this physical reality. It's a projection, you know, of our consciousness. And I think, like you said, the better way to put it is to actually live in a more harmonious way, to live in the matrix where you're more happy. Because why do people want to escape the matrix? It's probably because they're not having such a great time. You know, there's hardships. But if we let go of some of our negative belief systems and realize that this is just like a game, this is just a projection, not take it so seriously, then I think we can also enjoy it a bit more. And once you let go of more of your beliefs and everything that doesn't belong in your reality, then you start realizing how amazing this reality that we live in is. It's so amazing with all the synchronicities, and you raise your frequency. There's so many things that will come into your life that will be so positive.
Absolutely.
I have a question for you. What are some of the common signs that someone is trapped in the social matrix, you know, like we talked about?
Well, in my experience, I'll give some personal examples for me. But I feel that we all have kind of a shadow aspect to ourselves, in the way that I guess Jungian psychologists might term it, is this aspect of yourself that you don't quite recognize is there. Other people will very blatantly see your shadow, but it's very difficult for you to see that for yourself without relentless introspection and understanding of what your patterns are and why you react to things the way you do. So as long as you don't step into the awareness of those shadow aspects of why they're there, where they're coming from, then you're kind of prone to becoming dictated by them. You're kind of under the shackles of those traumas your whole life. So if you're trapped in this mentality, not in a mentality, but I suppose if you're kind of really constricted by your traumas and by those thought patterns that maybe aren't serving you or allowing you to be free in your life, then you're very reactive to things that really remind you of certain traumatic incidents in your life. And that could show up anywhere in your life. That could show up in your workplace. It can show up in your relationships. A lot of the times it manifests in your family relationships, because, you know, there's a lot of childhood trauma and developmental trauma. And when you're in that reactive state, you're constantly determined by external forces, external situations, external circumstances, and you're constantly reacting to them. Which is, I don't want to say that that's necessarily a bad thing. There's no shame or condemnation in there. It's always an opportunity to just look at what you're reacting at, what made you react to that, and understand, or not understand, but become aware of it to begin with. That's where it all starts to take place, right? When you start to become aware of, oh, wait, this really threw me off of my balance. I was happy and cheerful before this incident happened. Why did that throw me off balance? What am I believing about? What is this situation making me believe about myself? What am I believing about this situation? And when you start to ask these questions, every question comes with an answer. And whether you know it in that moment or not, that answer is going to come to you. So the simple awareness of of those situations where you're reacting and your reaction to the situations, I feel really brings a lot of light to your shadows, and allows you to start to see where you're in your life you're not allowing yourself to be free as it is. So I feel that might be a very telling sign that you're kind of dictated by the social matrices. You're very reactive to external situations that are going on outside of you.
Yes, no, that was a great answer. And I think it leads into the next question of what practical steps can individuals take to begin deprogramming from social conditioning?
Oh, oh my gosh. Yeah, so I personally I've done a lot of things over the years. I've changed my diet radically. That was one of the things that I've gotten very rebellious. I'm not necessarily sure that that's a good thing because it almost manifested into this form of fear of authority. It's kind of like this thinking that, oh, well, the elites rule the world and Illuminati and this, that, and, they're coming to get us, and, depopulation and all these conspiracy theory, fear-based thinking. And it's like, it's us against the world. And, that can almost in itself bring out other fears as well. Like I'm saying, the fear of authority, which really caused me to be very rebellious and completely veto everything that seemed to appear to come from some form of authoritative figure, but I feel a lot of, in a way, like it's all kind of helped me understand, like, for example, changing my diet and fasting also has really allowed me to detach from some of my attachments, like food, and not that food is a bad thing, but it's just that I really was going through times in my life where I would use food as a comfort mechanism and kind of suppress emotions and suppress thought forms that wouldn't necessarily be very comfortable. In a way, it was kind of like running from the present moments where sometimes there could be pain involved as well. But I feel there's a lot of ways, like there's a lot of rituals you can do, a lot of techniques you can look into, yoga, meditation. There's many different ways, and I feel it's really important to see what really excites you, to really tune into what excites you, and not do things just because you feel like something is necessary, is the only way for you to get from point A to point B, which is kind of like the trap that I fell into a little bit. I was like, for a long time, I was kind of like, changing my diet is the only way. I need to fast. I need to do this. And don't get me wrong, these are all great modalities of attaining spiritual liberation, I feel. But there's many different ways. And recently I've been discovering that I'm kind of pulled towards certain things and not really understanding why, that I might be interested in certain philosophies or certain teachings and certain points of time. But when I look back, I can always kind of connect the dots of why I needed to get interested in something and start to research about something. And it's kind of like an aha moment. So I would say really just tune into your inner child, like what excites the little you, what brings out that curiosity, what brings out that kind of like spark in you. And that, I think when you really follow that, like these little breadcrumbs on your journey, I feel they allow you to peel back at your layers, kind of like the outer layers of an onion, so you can really get to your core and understand who you truly are, which allows you to also detach from those external circumstances that might be triggering you, where you really come back into balance and recognize, oh wait, these things don't really hold power over me anymore. I don't need to be dictated by them anymore. Like there was a time maybe where they served a purpose, where these type of reactions served a purpose, where they allowed me to survive, where they allowed me to coexist with my environment. But right now, you don't have to be dictated by those anymore. So I don't know. I feel like that was a very elaborate answer, but I hope it answered your question.
No, it was perfect. Thanks so much. I think it really explains how the universe just puts all these things, you know, after one another. So it makes perfect sense to you as a person. You know, we might not know it in our physical, from our ego side, you know, why all these things are happening. But there's always a reason for everything. And in hindsight, when you look back, you can see, oh, this is why certain things happen in this order. So you can get to this point now in your future while we are in the present now. But let's say a couple of years ago, you were in the past looking into your future. And what really got stuck with me is David Israel. I interviewed him the other day, and by your suggestion, because you actually know him personally as well. And what he said was something profound, that the physical body and your spiritual, you know, consciousness, or your spirit, if they're not on the same level, then your spirit can make your body sick, and your body can make your, I shouldn't say spirit sick, but there's no harmony. So let's say your body is, you're eating not a clean diet. Let's say this is just his perspective, but I think it makes a lot of sense what he's saying. I don't know if you know about this, if he ever talked to you about this.
Yes.
But yes, and that made so much sense to me in a way, you know, like if you chose in this life to be in a higher frequency, let's say to experience certain things in your life, because our whole earth is moving to a higher consciousness, you know, a different, a fourth density, you know, where everything will manifest much quicker. You can't be lagging behind. Your body must be healthy as well to come with all these changes, and your spirit as well, your consciousness. And if they're not aligned, that's why I think some people experience some physical symptoms, you know. I think and the physical symptoms can also help you to bring yourself up to a different level. Like if you wouldn't have been sick with all your illnesses that you had, and that also drove you to first change your diet. Am I correct as well? And then you wouldn't have been able to now be at this level of consciousness with this high vibration, where you learn so many things about how to escape the matrix, for example, just in a simplified terms. And yeah, you're welcome to elaborate if you would like.
No, I think that's perfectly put. And yes, Dawid is he's a man full of wisdom, and I really he's taught me a lot, and for him I'm really grateful for a lot of things. And I would say that everything is communication, and sometimes we can really resent things that are happening in our lives and not really understand them, like you said, and we want to understand them, but the understanding isn't really given to us in the moment. But whatever is happening within your body is also communication, and it was always communicating to you, right? So all of these symptoms, these illnesses, when you start to really understand why they're there, you can kind of again like connect the dots looking back. And it could have started off. I feel that every physical symptom really starts off as suppressed trauma, emotion, suppressed emotion. There's a part of our brain that doesn't want to really relive painful experiences, so we tend to suppress them, we tend to forget about them. So it's really difficult to actually recall trauma, moments where you've experienced trauma. But the reality is that also inhibits your potential when you do that. So when you suppress these kind of like memories, the emotion that's associated with them is also suppressed. And that emotion is just energy in motion. So it needs to move throughout your body. It needs to move through and outside of your body. It needs to be released in some way. And if it's not released in the moment by allowing yourself to be fully present with whatever painful experience that you were experiencing, it's going to be stagnant somewhere in your body, and it's going to cause some form of illness. And that could be in time, it could be in the form of you self-sabotaging, choosing habits that aren't necessarily in the best interest of your body, that bring the frequency, the vibration of your body down, and choosing foods that might not necessarily be good for you, and because you're running from the emotion, and that means that there's something stuck in your body. That emotion is still there, that it needs to be released, and it could manifest in illness, absolutely. And there was a book, I forget what it's called, but I'll send it to you afterwards. Maybe you can link it in the description. But it was actually, there's two books. One of them is called Heal Your Life, I think. I'll send both of them to you. The other one, I forget the name. But they talk about illnesses and the emotions behind them, and the beliefs that are associated with them. So the belief patterns that you have, that might bring your frequency down, like you said, also, and causing that the inharmonious relationship between your body and the spirit as well. And absolutely, physical choices, physical dietary choices definitely have a play in that. I feel they don't always necessarily have to. That's just my personal perspective. But a lot of the times they do, because let's be real, the world we live in today, food definitely is used as an escape a lot of the times from emotions, from difficult experiences, painful situations. So I feel it's a very easy tool to use also, when you don't really want to relive and be present with traumatic incidents that could be causing like these painful situations.
Great explanation. Thanks, Esra. I want to ask you something that you mentioned to me, is that you said that we inherit trauma on a soul level. I just love that. Can you please explain to the audience what you mean by that?
Actually, when I met Dawood, I met him in Tanglewood, by the way, when I was in Costa Rica. I was volunteering there, and he came there to fast, and he was leading us through meditations on a daily basis throughout his whole 21-day water fast, which was amazing. But he talked about how he cleared one of his biggest fears by exposing himself to the fear and meditating in it. And he uncovered that the trauma that he inherited, the reason why that fear was there, was actually inherited in a past life. So he didn't experience it in this lifetime, but the fear that was associated with that traumatic incident that was still holding power over him was in this lifetime. So that made me think. It was just kind of in the back of my mind. And obviously, I think I mentioned also in the previous podcast that we did that I still am, by the way, working on this with my relationship with my mother, but I have a rare OCD diagnosis called misophonia. And the more I'm kind of like peeling back at the layers of that, the more I'm just like, where is this coming from? Because I cannot pinpoint for the life of me right now. I haven't been able to do so far. A moment in my childhood that has caused such kind of like a painful incident in my relationship with her or in my environment that has manifested in me like being very sensitive to the noises that she makes. So I feel that there's something that goes beyond this lifetime, this development. It's not just developmental, the trauma that we inherit. It's not just within this lifetime. It could be in other lifetimes. It's not just ancestral, also it's evolutionary, which means that it might not even be in this form. It could be through anything, that we have inherited trauma. And we also mentioned in the previous podcast that it comes from fears are always rooted in the fear of death. So it's really interesting to understand why you're scared of facing certain situations in your life, and how that might be related to your survival instincts, to evolutionary understanding, like evolutionary psychology, evolutionary trauma as well. And I feel like all of this memory is stored in our cells, in our body in some form. I like to say like cell memory is soul memory, you know. It's all carried in our cells, and your body keeps score of that. That's another book, The Body Keeps Score. I think I haven't read that one, but I heard about it quite a bit. I think it's a good one to read on trauma and how it manifests in your body and in your life.
Wow, that's amazing. That really answered the question. Thank you. How can one cultivate independent thinking in a world saturated with external influences? So in this world that we live in, there's so many distractions, like you said, food and alcohol and smoking and psychedelic drugs and a lot of things that can distract us from focusing our soul mission. How can someone cultivate this thinking to move forward,
Yes. I would say that nowadays there is so much external and so much information, like left, right, and center. You wake up, you go on social media, and everyone's saying something. And especially when you start to go deeper into your spiritual journey and healing and all of this, it's like everyone has something to say because everyone wants to share what worked for them, and naturally, like, we all want to help each other, and we can get very distracted and distraught by things that might not necessarily resonating with our journey, but we think that we need to do them because that's what works, and when it starts to your journey, that's when you can kind of tell it's not really aligned to you. And I feel cultivating intuition, allowing yourself to listen to your inner guidance and not letting the external noise, external chatter drown out that inner guidance, that inner wisdom, is really what allows that journey to be more harmonious for you, what allows you to really tune into what resonates with you, with where you're designed to be, where you're meant to be. And that's something I'm learning to do, to be honest, because I feel that we do live in a world that's very, very noisy, for lack of a better word. And through meditation and understanding like who you truly are behind all the thoughts, behind all the sensations in your body, you can really tune into your inner guidance. It's always there. It's always speaking to us. And I think it's more prominent in our lives than we might think. Like, it's also not like this big thing, oh, I need to develop my intuition, I'm completely severed from it. Like, it's always guiding us. We don't realize it all the time.
You're always
But
connected to
you're always
spirit,
connected to it. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you can be connected to it and be aware that you're connected to it, which I think is really when you start to see like the patterns that it allows you to manifest in your life, which is when things start to get interesting and really cool, I feel.
Yes. And do you think breath work and mindfulness also plays a role in the transformative process? You already mentioned meditation, like anything that can work for the person. Like you said, I believe that anything that you can find useful for yourself, because what applies to you, right, can
Yes.
help.
Yeah. And also when you're meditating, it's like, what is meditation? So many people use that word nowadays, but I think it's there's many different ways to meditate as well. But if you really want to gain consciousness of who you are behind your name, behind just what you do, behind your physical appearance, your gender, your age, your what do you call it, like marital status or whatever. You just tune into what your thoughts are telling you. Not in the sense that like be swayed by your thoughts, but just understand kind of what thoughts your mind is really telling you all the time, and how that feels in your body, and recognize that those are always going to be there, but they're not really who you truly are. You're just the one that's observing that. You're the one that's witnessing that. You're the subject in this sense. You're the witness. And what you're observing is the object, the thoughts, the emotions, the external appearances. And the mind can be really like crazy sometimes, most of the time. One moment it can be telling you one thing, the next moment it can be telling you the complete opposite. And if we're easily swayed by our thoughts, that's when you can, you know, kind of tell that you're stuck in the social matrix again. So when you're meditating, I think it's helpful to meditate on the question, who am I? You know, what am I? Who am I? Like it's a very simple question, but it kind of allows you to disentangle yourself from the thoughts, from the external appearances, and recognize, oh, this is, you know, this is just things playing out. It doesn't really necessarily have to do with me as a core, in my core. But I think it's quite simple when you say it, but it does take a lot of diligence to attain that state of consciousness in a moment-to-moment basis throughout your entire day, on all of your days, when you're just like recognizing that you're not your thoughts, you're not your sensations, you're not any of that. They're just part of this experience, and they don't really have anything to say about you or to do with you. So maybe that's helpful, but I do feel that at the end of the day, it's important to do what resonates, what really feels more aligned with you. And that could come through meditation, or it could come through other forms of practices and teachings and techniques.
And meditation clears out the chatter, and
Yeah.
it helps you to recognize, like, when a higher self is talking to you, or maybe your spirit guides or something like that. You know, when you meditate and I know a lot of times when I start meditating, I'm still hearing, 5 minutes later, I'm still thinking about what I'm supposed to do, you know, running through all the things that I'm supposed to do right now. Then I realize, what am I doing? I'm sitting here trying to meditate. So sometimes it's not so easy. I think a lot of people make it easy, but it's not about being perfect. It's about just being in the moment and trying to catch up with yourself, and you know, really connect with your higher mind, your consciousness, to clear out all the clutter. And when we're born, we don't have any luggage, you know, any suitcases, or, you know, we can say suitcases, or anything that we carry on, like we carry in our life. And as soon as we get older and older, we pick up all these belief systems from our parents, our friends, and school. And then we start realizing later on in our life, for example, why are we reacting to certain things the way we do, when that's not really me? Where does that come from? Where does that reaction come from to that specific topic or anything that we're reacting to? And why am I resisting that? Why am I resisting something good coming to me? Then you can actually have a look and see, where does that belief comes from? You know, does it come from your childhood, your parents? And, you know, if it's not you, then you can release that baggage, you know, and just let go of it. And once you realize, once you become conscious of it, then you realize, oh, wow, this wasn't even my thought. You just picked it up because when we're younger, we're in our survival, like we talked about in our previous podcast, we're in a survival mode where, you know, we need our parents to look after us, to feed us, to you know, clothe us. So we want to mirror them because we want to survive and we want to continue our life. But as soon as we become adults, it's hard to now all of a sudden let go of all these ingrained thoughts and thinking. So I think meditation, going back to meditation, really helps to just let go of that and realize, when you're sitting still, just what is really you, and just get rid of all the things that are not you. You know, it helps you to make you realize what are the things that's not you, and then you can get rid of that. But you can add to that, Esra, what do you think?
Yes, no, absolutely. And when you're tied to those beliefs, like when you're little maybe and something happened and someone said you can't do that, you're not necessarily free as a child as it might appear, you know. So you're kind of constricted by what your parents want you to do, like you said, or what the school system expects of you. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm going to go do and be whatever I want, because otherwise your survival is at stake, right? But when you're 20 plus years old, you're kind of 18 plus years old, maybe, you're kind of at a point in your life where you can stand on your own 2 feet now. You can be a completely sovereign being at any moment, without needing to be dictated by, oh, well, I need to do this to fulfill that expectation, or I need to be in this type of way or behave this type of way, or otherwise I'm not going to be accepted. But the reality is, you don't need to be accepted anymore. You don't need acceptance for your survival. It's not putting your survival at stake to be accepted anymore. So why are we allowing ourselves to still live by those beliefs? And it's funny because people go their entire lives still being, and multiple lifetimes, still being dictated by those beliefs, even though they're at points in their lives where they can in any moment choose to be completely sovereign and completely free and completely their full authentic self, without giving a crap about what anyone else is going to say about it, but it's painful sometimes. It can be painful to detach from that. It's like kind of pulling a thorn out of your side, because it's also like I've been inflicting that on myself this whole time, and coming to terms with that is also, it can be a very vulnerable moment, and it can feel very tender, and it's almost like you're scratching at the surface of very old wounds and that have been there for a long time, and you just recognize that you've been inflicting that on yourself, and it needs to come with a lot of self-compassion, I feel, and forgiving yourself, because there were times in your life where you didn't really know any better. You were just making the most of what you had. So yeah, there are some intricacies to it. And I feel, by the way, maybe you have some experience with this. I now recall there was a question on Instagram that was talking about somatic exercises and how those might be able to help release trauma. Do you have any experience with any kind of like somatic healing modalities? Maybe, I know, tapping and shaking, those are types of modalities that can also help release trauma, but perhaps you might have some experience with it.
No, that's true. I used to do some craniosacral healing. That's also very similar. I did a course on that, and I just I had some clients a couple of years ago, and also my family. It helped so much as well. And that also helps. It's just a different modality, like we talked about, that brings a lot of things to the surface. And a lot of people, it brings some fear to them, when the body releases certain things, the body says, I'm ready. But then all of a sudden, the people have all these flashbacks of some of their bad experiences. It can be good experiences as well, but sometimes it's painful experiences where they lost a family member or an animal or anything that comes to them that created that pain in their bodies. And then the body says, they're ready, but are you ready to release it? It really works as well. It's definitely a good, technique to use as well to release some of these fears and tensions and, in the body. Yeah, definitely. I can say that.
How is that? Cranial sacrum healing?
Sacral therapy. You kind of put your hand on the person. It's also hands-on healing, but you're not, it's just, you're kind of guiding the body to get into that healing state, and then you're actually asking the body, not asking physically, but it automatically happens where it releases fascia, in the body, or muscles and things like that, and tissues in the body that releases certain tensions. But like, for example, let's say you've got a tight neck, then it might be linked to something that happened 2 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden, if I would be working on your neck and that gets released, then the thought will come back to you, and that experience will come back to you, and you wonder, what's going on now? Why am I experiencing that thing again? But then the body is just showing you that was maybe the physical representation of that that experience, that you experience in this physical reality,
Yes.
or a dimension that we live in, or life.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely, that's
Yeah.
quite interesting. Yeah,
I think it comes
definitely.
with also learning to cultivate like awareness of the sensations in your body, because you can be doing all of these exercises and shaking and tapping and different somatic healing modalities, but it's important to also, while you're doing those things, be aware of what you're feeling as you are maybe tapping or shaking or dancing. Because like you said, it could bring up like the sensation can bring up certain thoughts, and suddenly you're like, oh, where did that come from, but the remembering of that thoughts is the opportunity to now, like, how should I say, redefine how you relate to it, and recognize that it doesn't really need to have power over me anymore, you know what I mean? So yeah, I do feel that those exercises could be really beneficial. I personally haven't looked into them so much. I do know that yoga could also help in that sense as well, because it can help release a lot of emotions that might be trapped in certain areas in the body, a lot of tension that can be trapped as well. And you can feel it when something really triggers you. You can feel it, like if you're really tuned into how you're feeling in your body. Oh, everything is tense. Maybe you might be feeling it. I notice that I feel it in my heart space when I get triggered by something that, by the misophonia that I was talking about with my mom. I feel it here, like this constriction, this tightness, and I'm learning more and more that in the moments, instead of reacting externally, I can bring the focus back here and breathe into that area where the constriction is, and that can allow me to also to identify what story I have about it, what trauma is associated with it. And I think it takes some time also to, it might not, but if it's really deeply ingrained, I feel it can take some time to uncover exactly what beliefs you might be having about certain incidents.
Of course, I found that as well, when I had my eczema problem, and before I also ate very healthy. No matter how many sessions I had, like craniosacral therapy or any other sessions, there was not anything specific I could put my finger on. So sometimes when you have a serious illness, it's a combination of thoughts and emotions. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have one thing, and if you let that go, you can. I mean, some people have got that they can immediately release it and they healed immediately, But sometimes it's a bit more complex, and sometimes it's linked to certain things in your spirit that you're working on, or it's a big thing in your life that you have to overcome, like a life path that you not following exactly. And once you become more of yourself, then you realize that you can let it go, because you don't need that kind of experience to show you that about yourself, what you have to let go, because now you're becoming yourself, or anything else. I'm just giving an example. But I can also attest to that. Yoga is amazing. I mean, I just did yoga this morning as well, and I just I just love yoga. Yoga for me is almost like meditation. I don't even sometimes meditate specifically if I'm very busy, but if I do my yoga, then it centers me, and a lot of things come up in my yoga session as well. I don't know why, but for me, it's just such a all-in-one kind of practice,
Yeah.
And meditation doesn't necessarily mean that people have to now sit down and dedicate 20 minutes, or it's just all your body wants, or your spirit, your consciousness wants you to just sit still and just find yourself in that moment, center yourself so you can be yourself, without pulled in all kinds of other directions. So that's how I see it.
Yes, clarity arises when you allow yourself to be still. And I fully agree, by the way. You don't necessarily have to be sitting in this cross-legged kind of like a meditative posture. You could be doing anything and meditating. I remember when my brother and I, when we were in college, we used to go play ping pong in the fitness center. And we'd play some I think it was like house music. And both of us would just be kind of in our zone, like in the flow. And that is a meditation. That is you detached from thinking, from like convoluted thoughts and stress, and just fully immersed in the moment, meeting the moment as it is. And that's really what meditation is, I feel, to have the awareness to recognize that you're really just, you can be fully here now, like in this intersection of moment to moment, moment to moments, and be fully present, and allow whatever your spirit is guiding you through to manifest through you. And oh, I could I'm getting so many thoughts and ideas, and I don't want to branch off too much, but this morning, every morning I pull out oh, maybe you shouldn't talk about this.
Sorry, say it again.
Every moment I kind of pull out like a card, and maybe some people might associate that with you know, kind of voodoo stuff, but I more see it as a way of kind of like bringing out aspects of my own psyche and seeing like, okay, what is this telling me about myself today? Rather than seeing it as like, oh, well, this is going to happen and that is going to happen. So this morning when I was doing that, the card I pulled out really just, I kind of allow it to bring out like whatever is, you know, I say like prod, like whatever intuitive feeling I have about it, and see like, okay, maybe this is something that I need to work on about myself, and kind of get to the bottom of. And the card I pulled out today really just allowed me to see how change can manifest through me if I really just stay in the moment and be completely present in every moment. Then I wouldn't be resisting change so much, because every moment, when you really think about it, is the crossover between a complete death and a complete rebirth. And every moment we're dying to the previous moment and being born to the next. And when you're really present at the intersection of those two, you can allow that change, that transition between the previous moment and the next moment, to happen seamlessly, effortlessly. Like you don't have to get entangled in the drama of all of it, you know? So it was really significant for me this morning to see that card. And I was like, this is, because I was asking myself, when I was meditating this morning, I set the intention to really just get to the bottom of the misophonia, the OCD situation, and understand where that trauma was coming from, and really remember, put the different aspects of it together again in a way that's making it whole, so that I can really just identify, you know, what it is that's keeping me trapped in my relationship with my mother, and maybe in my potential to create the future, the reality that I want to manifest the reality that I want to. So yes, I really digressed a lot, but I think it's really interesting, all of these concepts and different techniques, whether it's, you know, yoga, whether it's meditation, whether it might be some form of religion that you profess. I think in a way they all bring you back to one truth, and you can define it and make meaning of it in whatever way you choose. There is no right or wrong, the way I like to look at it. But yeah, it's very, very interesting, I think, to get to the bottom of it and really investigate it. I get really intrigued by it.
Yes, I love your answer. That is great. I never knew you do card readings. Maybe we must do a short video in the future about you doing some card readings. That would be my fun, you know?
I just started. I'm not like.
No, I know you're not a professional, but it's just, you know, showing people how authentic you are, and how, you know, it's all these things just connected. Everything is connected. The card reading, you know, again, where does that fear come from if people connect to card reading as a negative thing? You know, it is just a help for you to, from a different perspective, to view your reality, to bring some things to the surface that you want answers to. You know, it's another aspect, you know, that can help you. It's like a permission slip, you know, to help you to move forward.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like time is just a man-made construct. We don't really experience time our higher selves don't really, there is no concept of time on a higher level. So if we look at it as, oh, well, this is, you know, fortune telling, or this is the future, it's not really that. It's just, you know, it's, again, it's just aspects of your psyche that are being brought to the surface that might be calling for your attention, that might be reflecting back to you unhealed parts of your psyche, unhealed parts of yourself, or it could be reflecting back to you the parts of yourself that are rewarding you for having, you know, healed or having worked on it and getting to the bottom of it. So it's all just a reflection of you. Everything that's is kind of reflecting back to you yourself, your own aspects. It's so interesting. I can talk about it forever, but I really don't want to digress.
I love this. I love this topic as well. Yes, I agree with you. I just wanted to ask one more question about how do you think consumerism and materialism keeps individuals trapped in the matrix? Do you think there's a connection?
Yes, that's such a great question, actually. And I feel my perspective on that has been changing a lot lately because I would say there was a time when I really started to kind of like, I really went into my spiritual journey a bit uncomfortably, as a lot of people do, I think. You kind of experience something devastating, so scary or so just like uncomfortable that you're forced to make a change almost. Um, and there was a time where I was like, no, like every kind of materialism is bad. We should really just starve our senses and not give in to our lower desires. And if we want to buy things and eat like certain foods, it's not good for us. And it's really, we're going to be a slave to our vices if we keep doing that. So it was really just like, no, definitely no, not do and not get involved in any of that. But nowadays I'm realizing also like these experiences, being here and experiencing all of that as well, is a very necessary element. It's a very necessary instrument to our journey as well. Because how can we experience pleasure? How can we experience spiritual insight? How can we experience the highs in our lives if we don't allow ourselves to dabble a bit in the things that might cause us pain as well? And obviously, when you know things to a certain extent, when you're aware of certain truths about whatever it might be for you, for me, it was about food. It's up to you if you want to go back into old patterns and beliefs, and I think the repercussions of that you experience for yourself. But I think it's also very limiting to say I shouldn't be involved in any kind of consumerism or materialism, because we're here to experience all of it.
Exactly.
I feel,
And this is a judgment on
yeah,
yourself. If you're judging yourself, why can't we experience certain things that we're living in this life, in this world? We can't be separate from it. So as long as it's a healthy connection to consumerism and being materialistic, I mean, there's nothing wrong with liking being a spiritual person and love sports cars, for example. I'm just giving an example. Why is that such a bad thing, you know, or why is it such a bad thing that you want to buy something for yourself that makes you happy, that you make you look good, even that you have the highest frequency? You don't have to be running around half naked in the jungle to be spiritual, you know, and
unless you want to.
yeah, of course. I'm just saying that's a choice. Obviously, if that's the person's highest excitement, go for it.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I fully agree with you. And that's also another form of liberation. It's assessing the relationship you have with these things. Are you using them as a form of escape to not face painful situations, to not allow yourself to disidentify from certain thinking, from certain beliefs, to not allow yourself to release emotions? um, eh, that is where the predicament lies, I feel. But if you're really feeling called to do certain things, or to buy something, or to experience something that might be, that one might say is, you know, material or consumeristic, and you're holding yourself back just because consumerism is bad or the material world is an evil thing, you know, that is, I feel, is just a very rigid form of thinking, and it's a very constricted form of thinking, and maybe it's inhibiting you from experiencing something that is necessary for you to experience, and it's delaying your creative expression. So I feel, you know, this really is just about unlimiting yourself, unleashing your full potential, and just allowing it all to express through you without rigid thinking, without rigid beliefs that would otherwise constrict you. So that could in and of itself become a constriction, you know, the beliefs about the material world as it is.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer. Thank you. What is your vision for a society where more individuals have escaped the matrix, or rather than saying escape the matrix, living joyously in this matrix or this physical reality that we have?
I love this question. Just because I had a vision the other day. I joined a workshop. Daryl Sean, he was my friend invited me on to his workshop. If anyone's interested, you can check him out. But he guided us through a meditation where we kind of envisioned the reality that felt most resonant to us, felt most desirable to us. And what I pictured was just this very vibrant picture of everyone just really fully allowing themselves to express as their most authentic self. Something about authenticity nowadays is really just hitting a spot with me, and I feel there's always an opportunity to become more authentic, to allow yourself to express more as your inner child would like to express, so to speak. And in that meditation, when I saw that picture of everyone just allowing themselves to be free fully as they are, it was also like the byproduct of that is you're also allowing other people to be free. And whether or not your current self might be fully in agreement with that, it doesn't really matter, because it doesn't really bother you. It doesn't say anything about your identity, what that person is identifying with in a moment. And again, that comes with being fully present with who you are in this moment, and releasing yourself from expectations, rigid expectations. And it was such a beautiful picture, because I was also picturing people just accessing really interesting abilities, psychic abilities, and tuning in telepathically with one another, communicating with beings. I saw, by the way, that you just posted a video on UFO encounters with your friend. I'm gonna watch that. But that as well, just being in contact with higher beings that might not necessarily be of this terrain. Just by tuning into psychic abilities, by allowing yourself to become more of who you are. So yeah, it was just really exciting, and I just opened my eyes and I was like, wow, like if we come to that level, which if we imagine it, then, you know, if you're watching this, maybe you're co-creating it, imagining it with me, envisioning it with me. It's just such a beautiful picture, and so liberating of an environment to be in, I feel. And that's where we're headed. Just like when you go on social media now, maybe social media for some people might not necessarily be associated with authenticity, but again, I see it as a tool where you can really allow yourself to express authentically. Look at us now having this amazing conversation and allowing ourselves to flow through it like this. I can see so many creators now stepping into who they truly are without really rigidly sticking to, oh, well, I need to appear like this, or I need to do this, or I need to speak like this, or I need to have this certification to be able to help people, or, you know, it's none of that is really true unless you identify with it and believe it and make that your reality. So anyways, that was what I was envisioning, and I not woke up, but I just kind of opened my eyes after that, and I was like, that's so incredible.
I love your vision. I love your vision. I just love it. And that's exactly how I imagine as well our future, to be more connected, more unified, and everybody being themselves and not being judged for being themselves, you know? And I think that judgment also, if people can let go of the judgment of themselves, then they won't judge other people as well. There's an inherent judgment within us. Sometimes it comes from our childhood or, how we grow up and our environment as well. And we have to let go of that, just to be more, less judgmental and really let the other person be and be happy for everybody and be happy for yourself. And I just love that vision, how you've seen everybody communicating telepathically and, taking us to the stars, exploring the universe. And like I always think of myself, if I come to contact physically with the extraterrestrial, not just in my astral body, but one day we will have open contact and they will be here with us. Then I will just ask them to take me on the spaceship just to spin around, the solar system, just to know what it feels like, physically to really feel how it feels like with this body to be in space. For me, that's always my vision. I don't know why, to be that's part of my co-creation that I wish for everybody as well to co-create, how I see it as well. But that's exactly, I think everybody's extra sensory connections will be heightened. Everybody will have more telepathy. I think everybody will be able to experience a lot of things like maybe levitating and, there will be we will be able to connect with each other so much easier, like telepathically as well, like I mentioned already. There's just so many beautiful things in my mind, and we have to co-create it together because that should be our highest timeline, the most happiest timeline that we co-create together, unified as human beings, and it's another thing that stuck with me is Tim from Tim Tactical. I discovered him through watching Gaia TV because I'm subscribed to Gaia TV, and he says that we must just shift all happily now. So all shift happily now. So it always makes me smile, and every time, that means that from reality to reality, moment to moment, we must shift happily now. So we must all be happy at every moment and shift along into a better collective timeline, collective consciousness timeline that will work for everybody and that will all be in unified together in the future. And I think I just love that. So I'm always using the all shift happily now type of thinking, and that's such a simple thing, but it just makes me smile. And even when I'm having sometimes a challenging time, then it comes to my mind, and immediately it makes me help to shift easier, because once you have a challenging situation, that kind of takes you back to this feeling of, oh, not again. Now it's something to release again. Sometimes it's very challenging things that come up. Even if there's a lot of positive things in your life, that's more likely that you're going to have negative things come up because your body wants to get rid of all the low frequency vibrations in your core frequency, so as soon as you let go, then your core frequency will rise up. And I think that's why, like you said, people are now just trying to be their authentic self, just to because their frequency is higher. I think all of us slowly shifting to higher frequency, and we don't realize it immediately, but if we would look back 100 years ago, those people would feel totally different. They would feel so dense, in their spirit if you would talk to them.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so crazy, by the way, about the all shift happily now, because I saw and when I was in Tanglewood in Costa Rica, I had they had these stickers like that big, and
Yes.
it had that hashtag on it, all shift happily now.
Yes.
And I was like, I didn't know where that was coming from, but like I was like, oh, I see that, I can understand that, like that, I vibe with that. And
That is a
I
group.
kind of
Yes,
yeah,
sorry, carry on.
I stuck it on my door because like I just really
Oh.
like that. I love that. It was kind of like reminding me to be present in the moment and just be like, okay, well, just go with the flow, go with the change, just whatever is happening is happening. And I saw that hashtag on your post and I was like, where did that come from? How did she know about that? And now you're saying it and I didn't know. Who did you say it was by? T for
Tim Tactical on YouTube
Tactical.
and Tim Tactics. I think it's Tim.tactics on Instagram.
Okay.
Follow him. He's amazing. And I just wish I could meet him one day, you know, because he's just so inspirational. He's one of the kind of whistleblowers from the German government, you know. He used to work in secret projects, and that's how I found him on Gaia, because I watch Cosmic Disclosure. It's a channel on, sorry, it's a series on Gaia TV. Gaia TV, I've been subscribed for years. I know it's a you pay a little bit of a membership. It's not too expensive, but there's so much nice things there, information that aligns with me, you know. And that's where I found him. And then he started his own group and his own you know, Instagram page and everything, and it grew over the years now. But he teaches a lot of, it's all this, you know, unity consciousness and his experiences in the secret projects, how he connected to some extraterrestrial beings, like being 6, who's in between the dimensions, you know. It's a spirit collective, you know, so it doesn't have a physical body. And he also had a lot of interactions with the Greys, because he was kind of a person that connects to them socially as well. They used him in the government just in the secret projects to connect to them. So they used tablets to connect, like they would meet in this bunker, like underground bunker or underground containers, and then he would sit there, and then the Grey would come in, and they can communicate through this tablet, you know, like special tablets that I think the Greys will have, and then it translates, you know, to German or the Greys language. But obviously Greys also use telepathy. So sometimes they would appear in his bedroom, and he doesn't like that, because he told them already, you know, do not appear in the bedroom, because that just freaks me out. People don't want aliens, you know, or extraterrestrial in their bedroom while they're sleeping, and then they wake up to that, you know. So yeah, it's very hilarious. He's really, I mean, the stories and everything, and it just resonates with me so much. And you know, I do listen to a lot of his podcasts, and also he's got a lot of great people that he's interviewing, that he's connected to. And yeah, so please check it out. It's hashtag all shift happily. That's why I put the hashtag on. And also it's called all shift happily now, I think .com, but I will just put it in the descriptions for everyone, for our listeners as well, if they're interested in following that kind of, you know, he does it with other people as well. It's not just him, you know. There's a collective of spiritual teachers and other people in the world. So it's very cool. So yeah, I just love it. The first time I heard it, I can't remember when they came up with it, beginning of the year or last year. Then immediately it hit me, you know, that's it. You know, I just love the all shift happily, and I think it's like a heart, like this. If you look at the logo,
okay.
I think it's a heart together from like a digital image, but I think it really explains, you know, how we should actually co-create this amazing reality, you know. And yeah, I just love that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So beautiful. Amazing. Tim Tactical.
Yeah,
that's so
YouTube.
wild. Like,
Yes, I will. Yeah, so
go ahead.
it's Tim Tactical on YouTube, and on Instagram, tim.tactics. I will also leave his links on the description, and I will send it to you personally as well, Esra.
Yes. Sounds good. Perfect, Judith. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being on this podcast. It was so powerful. Wow.
Virtual hugging you through the screen. I loved it so much.
Virtual hug.
Like I'm so down to do this at any time. It's amazing. I just feel so invigorated, and I think we talk about some really profound topics, and it's always very interesting to hear. I'm really curious about the recent video that you put about the UFO encounters I've been reading. I think I mentioned to you already, maybe not on our videos, but personally when we were speaking, that I read a bit of David Wilcock,
Yes.
some of his books, and those were really eye-opening for me. He's also like a whistleblower, so to speak, or
Yes.
he's worked with a lot of whistleblowers and interviewed a lot of insights
Mm.
and this and that. So yeah, it's mind-blowing to me to just be uncovering all of this, and it just piques my curiosity, honestly, even if it's even if it's all BS at the end of the day. It's really, I get really curious to see, what is possible and what people are really picturing and envisioning and what they're finding out, and opens your mind to different possibilities, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. I came into contact with David Wilcock about 6 years ago when I joined Gaia. I can't remember if I actually seen him on Gaia TV or he just came into my feed. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But that's how there is another series, I think, on Gaia TV. Now I forgot the name, where before Cosmic Disclosure started, the other series has been on for years, and they actually interview a lot of people, I think, like him and a lot of other whistleblowers. And I think that's where I've seen him the first time. And he's also has a huge knowledge, amazing knowledge. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that from every person that you listen to that you have to take everything to heart. Whatever resonates with you, you must have that part of your, how you understand reality and the world. That's how I see it. Because my podcast, all I want to do is I don't want any conspiracies or any low vibrational things. I want to keep it very high vibrational, and I want to just have talk about things that lift everybody up, that's unifying, not polarizing. I don't want any polarizing things, because if you polarize, then you actually pull your energy down, you're holding people back. And I think unity is the way to go, where it's not this or that, it's this and that.
This and that, yes.
Yeah, I think that really resonates with me as well. I think Bashar said that, I think, originally. And yeah, so.
I love that. I love that. Perfectly said. And yeah, fear. Oh, that was another one. Fear is false evidence appearing real.
Yes.
So
That
what's
is
the
so
point
simple.
of fearing? What is the point of fearing these what looks like opposition, what looks like different polarities? Yeah, it's just an illusion. It's illusory thinking. Another, I may have shared it with you, Judith, but maybe not with the audience, but Joseph Rodriguez, I've been listening to him since 2021, maybe 2022 or so. He's been very life-changing for me. He has a channel on YouTube, and I think really he just provides very different perspectives on reality and how it works, and how our thinking and how our state of being really interplays with it. And if anyone's interested in really understanding and kind of purifying your mind from rigid thinking, from thoughts that might really keep you constricted in a certain type of experience of reality, I would highly recommend you check him out. He's really, really good. And he has a very balanced and calm energy as well, which also grounds you, I feel, as you're listening to it, as the audience. So I highly recommend. It just popped into mind. I thought I would just mention that because I really feel like I owe him so much, even though I don't really know him personally.
That's how it feels like, when a person has a real impression on us, it feels like we know them personally, but they don't know who we are.
Yeah.
But it just touches our heart so much. Maybe you must just send me his details, and then I can put it in the description for the viewers.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah,
With
no, that
pleasure.
sounds amazing. Awesome, Esra. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Judith. It's always a pleasure.
It's so nice to always talking to you, because it always uplifts me. Like you said, it never weighs me down. And that's why I also love doing this podcast, because all the people that I interview afterwards, I feel so energized, and it doesn't feel like I'm working, it's not like it's not supposed to be working anyway, because I'm doing it as a hobby now, as my highest excitement hobby. And it just uplifts me. And I learn so much from everybody, and it helps me also to let go of some negative beliefs in myself. So it helps me actually the most, you know?
Yes, that's what I was saying earlier, is follow your excitement, follow what piques your curiosity, like follow what makes you excited like you were excited when you were a little child. And you don't necessarily have to do all these rigid techniques and rituals and whatever. Like if that's what excites you, go for it. But it could be
Yes,
anything. It could be starting your own podcast. That could be your yoga meditation. You know what I mean? So, oh, I love
exactly.
that. I love that. And this channel is gonna bloom and blossom. I can just feel it if that's, if you're really
Thank you.
doing that. I love it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm just going to continue doing it and not give up, because that can be, I give up sometimes too easy, you know, and that's also a bit of a challenging thing for me, I must say, in the future, even if it's something that excites me, you
Yes,
know.
we will do it. I love it.
Perfect.
And I love being here, Judith. Thank you so much for inviting me again.
It's a pleasure.